we're going to cut the turkey. That's right. The NFL with AJL in the Thanksgiving season of 2023 brings you cut the turkey. Which NFL teams need to cut the turkey, aka get rid of their head coaches by Thanksgiving? Probably won't happen. I didn't factor in, offensive coordinators, quarterbacks, running back coaches, whatever, like the Steelers subbed in with, Matt Canada taking over. I just took a look at which teams should move on from their head coach at this point in the season because we see it every year. We saw Nathaniel Hackett get fired last year. We saw Urban Meyer get fired the year before. Just awful coaching jobs, whether it is or isn't by Thanksgiving with the two that I just mentioned. I can't remember off the top of my head, but which NFL team should cut the turkey and get rid of their head coach? Y'all already know I'm starting off the top with Dennis Allen here. I've been saying it all year. I had said it all year last year. Dennis Allen ranks 169th out of 174 active head coaches, not active head coaches, head coaches in NFL history that have coached at least 60 games. The man has a 33% winning percentage. He's 20 and God, what is he? Is he 18 and 46? Something like that. I can't remember. He has a sub 500 record with the Saints, though. And the fact that the Saints thought a guy with 0 wins essentially on his resume in terms of meaningful ones and coaching the way he did in Vegas, that he was the answer. And we know what Dennis Allen's doing over there in New Orleans. He's tearing the culture apart. The defense was good, and now it's been bad for the last couple of weeks, really the last month. Marshawn Lattimore might be out for the year, so that's just going to be even more of a hit for the Saints. Now, there is Paulson Adebo. There is Alontae Taylor. There are some of those defensive players out there, but we're an old roster. We're an old defensive line. We're an old defensive front. Dennis Allen is horrible at play calling. Pete Carmichael is also horrible at calling plays. Not only should the Saints cut the turkey and Dennis Allen, but also Pete Carmichael. And unfortunately, as the season and the time with both of them gets on, maybe even Mickey Loomis. You're condoning this. You're allowing this to happen. Miss Benson, I need you to step up and speak to Mr. Loomis. Y'all are the ones allowing this to happen. Mickey is agreeing to the contracts for these guys. The old buddy system. No, that's not what the Saints were. We remember when people came in the past. If you didn't fit the culture, you were gone. It was kind of like the Patriot way. You had a certain standard you had to uphold here in New Orleans, and if you didn't, then you weren't going to be with the team. So the New Orleans Saints need to cut the turkey. Also staying in the NFC South, Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith has a loaded Falcons team in terms of talent. From Bijan Robinson to Kyle Pitts to Drake London. You look on the defensive side of the ball, you've got Calais Campbell, Caden Ellis, Jesse Bates, Jeff Okuda, Bud Dupree. And I said it, the Falcons were going to be a top 10 defense in the NFL. And right now they are not. The product that they put on the field is not a top 10 defense. They're in quarterback hell. They're in quarterback purgatory. The quarterback position is in shambles. And hey, I'm not here to talk smack about a Falcons head coach because I just told you right off the top, I wanted my whole front office cleaned. Because that's what it needs. Bad contract for the Saints, you just got to blow it up. Not necessarily bad contracts with the Falcons, but knowing that this is a third straight year of Arthur Smith, let me make sure I have that correct because I really like to be factually correct with you guys, especially when I'm talking about specific teams here on the pod. Let's see. Excuse me. So 2 straight 7 and 10 years. Now they're at 4 at 6. Looks like they're heading straight towards a yes, the Atlanta Falcons, 100%, Bruns. They are moving towards another 7 and 10 year. And when Arthur Smith came in, he was supposed to be this offensive guy. He was supposed to be this offensive mastermind that could immediately, turn this offense around. It was under Dan Quinn, who was not that great once Kyle Shanahan left and had that really, one great season, but 2 seasons as offensive coordinator. He's not utilizing this talent well. He is not being that offensive guru that he was supposed to be when he came in. The offense under Arthur Smith over the last 3 years is worse than the final year that Matt Ryan was an Atlanta Falcon. And we kind of remember how in shambles that team was. The Falcons haven't unfortunately been above 500 since the loss in the Super Bowl, especially, season over season. And that's unfortunate. That is very, very unfortunate. Arthur Smith, the Atlanta Falcons have to cut the turkey. They absolutely have to cut the turkey because the offense cannot continue to be mismanaged. Now Desmond Ritter's coming back in after Taylor Heineke came in. It's just confusing, right? You have Justin Fields on the board, the potential to take him. I know Arthur Smith wasn't really kind of wrapped up in all that, but just knowing that, I kind of, rambled off there for a second, knowing that they've had these chances to get quarterbacks. And I don't personally think that they've drafted super well either. So Arthur Smith will be at the helm of that. Atlanta Falcons need to cut the turkey. The next team that needs to cut the turkey, the New England Patriots. And yes, I'm talking about Bill Belichick. Yes, the same Bill Belichick that's won 6 Super Bowls. Yes, the same Bill Belichick that's going for the winningest head coach of all time. The same Bill Belichick that's only 20 wins away from doing that. The reason I say Bill, we talked about it on the last show too, is Bill Belichick is a coach where the league has moved past him. Kind of like Mike Tomlin, but Mike Tomlin continues to win football games and keep his, team in the discussion more than the Patriots anyways, right? Patriots are 2-8. Bill Belichick can't draft. He's not only the head coach but the GM. In the last decade, he's drafted 2 All-Pros. It was a punter and a punt returner. Bill Belichick might have even lost the locker room at this point. You've benched Mac Jones multiple times for Bailey Zappi. Your fans are so deprived of time, deprived of talent. They want damn Malik Cunningham, who takes most of his snaps as a wide receiver, in for quarterback. And it's okay that the league has moved past Belichick because even the defense isn't looking very solid. We know the offense isn't doing anything at this time. A 2-8 football team. I understand Bill has recently brought you success within the last 5-6 years of a Super Bowl. I understand that Bill has been that guy that has created the dynasty. But eventually you have to have your playmakers and your veterans, which his team does not consist a whole lot of, over there in New England. I don't want to see Bill lose his job because he's so well respected and arguably the greatest of all time. But you can only live in a certain era for so long. Just how I started off with Dennis Allen. You can only be in the Sean Payton era for so long. There went Breeze. There went Sean. Now let's go ahead and let Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael go, maybe even Mickey Loomis. It might be the same thing with the New England Patriots. And there's nothing wrong with that because at least the Patriots have 6 Super Bowl rings to either put their hands on or hang their hats off of. Put on their hands or hang their hat on, whichever way you want to look at it. New England Patriots need to cut the turkey with Bill Belichick. The next team that needs to cut the turkey, the Los Angeles Chargers. The Los Angeles Chargers have to cut ties with Brandon Staley. And this has been a major circulating thing over the last couple of weeks. We've even seen Brandon Staley get pissed at the podium. He said, "You can stop asking that question because I'm going to be the one calling the defenses." Yeah, we know, Brandon Staley. You're going to be the one calling the defenses with one of the worst points per game defensively in the league, one of the worst defensive yards in the game, defensive yards per game in the league, giving up almost 400 yards a game with a Derwin James, with a Khalil Mack. I understand Joey Bosa just went out, but I think the injury is better than some thought it was going to be, with an Asante Samuel Jr., with some of those linebackers in that linebacking core. The most expensive defensive roster in the NFL, and you're 4-6. And your quarterback can throw for 300 plus yards in a game, but only go 13-12 in those stretches. Your quarterback can't get any defensive help. This is really a Derek Carr treatment for Justin Herbert. Derek Carr never had a top 20 defense in his decade with the Los Angeles Raiders, with the Las Vegas Raiders. Brandon Staley, it's just he's not a head coach. He's not the guy. I thought the hire from Brandon Staley was pretty solid after the Rams won the Super Bowl. I understand that. We see that he gets him to a playoff game last year. Trevor Lawrence, after the worst first half probably ever, comes back in and wins them the game. And that's not just one thing that I'm really looking at here with Brandon Staley. But for Christ's sake, losing to the Packers, and hey, the Saints did it too. I want a Dennis Allen gone after that game. I want a Dennis Allen gone for months, for weeks. So I'm not here to pick on any certain team. That's why I wanted to start with my coach first. But the Los Angeles Chargers, you need to cut the turkey. But you know that you need to cut the turkey. Go ahead and get the knife ready. Go ahead. Get ready to carve it up. Nice. You know, what you want? You want sandwich? You want like deli? You want a hunk? Like what you want? Thanksgiving's coming up. Go ahead and get you a nice slice of the turkey. Go ahead and cut it. And the last team here that should cut the turkey, and then I might throw in some honorable mentions that y'all probably thought I was going to say, but I won't be putting on here. The Washington Commanders need to cut the turkey with Ron Rivera. They're a 4-7 football team. They just lost to the New York Football Giants, and knowing that Eric Bieniemy is next in line as well. I said it when Eric Bieniemy took the job. Eric Bieniemy's thinking bigger. He's thinking better. He's thinking of, I can eliminate the whole Andy Reid was my sidecar guy for years, and I can go to the Washington Commanders and put Sam Howell in the league lead for passing yards and let Sam Howell put up almost 400 yards on that Philadelphia Eagles defense. And the Washington Commanders click offensively when they've got Sam Howell in the right positions. And they've even got a lot of talent as well. They really do. I understand Montez Sweat, Chase Young gone. So those are going to be some big holes to fill. And they'll probably make a lot of free agency offseason and draft moves to supplement that. But the Commanders need to cut the turkey with Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera, when he came over, I love the fact that he was able to beat the odds, that he was able to actually get in, with the Commanders, continue coaching. We know he had some health issues, and I think a lot of the players respect Ron Rivera, especially with his time in Carolina. But he wasn't a guy that was out of a very high coaching stature with the Panthers or in Carolina. They knew that Ron Rivera was a defensive minded head coach, and it wasn't as glaring of an issue back then, but it definitely is now. They've got the guy in the building. They only signed him to a 2-year deal, so they should go ahead and elevate him. The Washington Commanders need to cut the turkey with Ron Rivera. He's been there for years. I don't think he's taken the team any further. And they've got a great guy in Eric Bieniemy who is patiently waiting to be the next greatest head coach in the NFL in the ballads on that 2-year deal. And more than half of your first year is already gone. So Dennis Allen, Arthur Smith, Bill Belichick, Brandon Staley, and Ron Rivera, the Saints, Falcons, Patriots, Chargers, and Washington Commanders all need to cut the turkey this Thanksgiving. Now, I want to throw in some honorable mentions as well, because I'm just looking through. I don't want to be very harsh about these guys, but considering how long they've been in the league, or the talent that they have, or the record that they've established with the talent that they have, if it's not up to, I mean, of course, it probably sounds picky, to where I think it should be, then yeah, I put them here on the cut the turkey list. You could say Sean McDermott. They are at a 6-5 record though. And I think the Bills are, not in a horrible standing. Yes, they did just fire their OC. It's Josh Allen's third OC in his first 6 years, but maybe that last guy will be it. But I know the fan base is well calling for Sean McDermott to be fired. I just don't believe at 6-5 after letting go of Ken Dorsey that Sean McDermott would be up next. Didn't think Robert Sala. I think Sala's still pretty solid there. The Raiders had already done it. Obviously, I brought up the Chargers there. I didn't think anybody in the AFC North needed their job taken. I know Kevin Stefanski was being called for a lot earlier on in the year, but I think he's okay there. I would say Brian Dable, but I think considering the quarterback injuries this year and just all the injuries with the offense in general, he doesn't need to have his feet held to the fire just yet. Maybe you'd want to say Mike McCarthy because he's a Cowboys coach, but he's still a good coach in this league. Of course, I said the Commanders. I almost wanted to put Jonathan Gannon, but rookie head coach. Didn't even think about Sean McVay. I know he's at a 4-6 record, but he has a lot of young talent over there as well. I almost wanted to say Matt Eberflus too, and you probably could say that Eberflus really should be fired at this point in the year, but I think that'll come after the season. I really do. And I could have very well put Eberflus on there, but he didn't have Justin Fields for a month, who is undoubtedly his better player. And then of course I did put the Saints and the Falcons coaches on there. The Bucks, not necessarily. I think they're kind of in their middle ground currently. And then Frank Wright. I almost wanted to put Frank Wright as well. But he's in a rookie year head coach, and he's also, or not a rookie head coach, as he's been a head coach before. He's with the number 1 overall pick in Bryce Young, who has struggled to stay healthy. There's not a lot of offensive talent over there in Carolina. So I'm going to stick there with the Saints, Falcons, Patriots, Chargers, and Commanders firing their head coaches by Thanksgiving.